Okay, guys. Today I will be giving a cast of a replay from me playing a couple years ago, a little over 3 years ago. So I'll just start it up while I talk. For those of you, well, no one will know that's following the channel, but I, I mean, the first video game I ever played was StarCraft One, and I only got to play it at my grandparents' house. For whatever reason, my parents were very against video games. But for whatever reason, they let me play video games at my grandparents in California that I only saw once or a few times a year, and we'd stay there for like a week, and I'd just get all my StarCraft in. And funny thing, like my first friend, his parents let him play StarCraft, so I would go over to his house and play StarCraft with him. And my parents just hated it, and I felt so guilty because I wasn't supposed to play StarCraft, and they figured it out, and they would call his parents and tell him like Sam's not supposed to play StarCraft, and but I always got away with it. So even though my parents tried to stop me from playing StarCraft, I always did. Anyway, eventually they realized it was a futile effort, and finally, at some point I got a computer that I was actually allowed to use, and I would start playing StarCraft more. So I played StarCraft to relatively consistently, and then very consistently later on in late high school and into college. Played pretty consistently my first year and a half of college, and then I got a new friend group, and COVID hit kind of at the same time, and so I started. They were all League of Legends players, so I switched over to playing League, and I didn't really start playing StarCraft consistently again until recently, in the past few weeks, and I guess we'll see how long I keep up with it. But I was like, I've always been thinking like, how good was I back then, and how good was I back then? And am I better now than I used to be, right? So I thought, let's look up a replay of me playing from, 2, 3 years ago, and see how good my play was back then. So that whole long-winded story gets us to here. So this is me, Emperor, from 2020. I believe it was March. And you can see this is a really old map, Eternal Empire. And this is SkyNine, a Zerg player. If I remember right, I was at 4K MMR at the time, around then, hovering maybe a little below, a little higher. And I think the MMR, I think it's inflated. I don't know, inflate, deflate. But I think 4K is, I don't know. I honestly don't. I think there are less players on the server, right? So that would mean that 4K is better, I think. So MMR-wise, I think I was better back then, but we'll see. So let's see, he went for this roach attack. Now he's building drones, so he wasn't really committed. There's no third base either. So this is the type of thing I lose to all the time nowadays, but it looks like I've responded to it pretty well. Let's see whether I lose this depot. I think losing this depot is pretty inevitable, so I should have probably built one in response. And oh man, I lose both depots. No preparation. So that feels pretty bad. A little optimistic. I go for a Cyclone. And I think Zergs at my MMR nowadays are much better at dealing with the Cyclone. They would just pull this one back and have the other two attack. Oh, I could have controlled that better. I could have killed that, I think. You see, my crisis handling is pretty bad in this. I have no production going on. I have 1,000 minerals, 400 gas. I should have dropped a third CC. Still not building anything. Not a good look for 3-year-old Sam. I mean, Emperor. You guys can't know my real name. Have to see if I can bleep that out. Okay, so finally starting to spend that money. I mean, he's banking a lot too. Let's see what he's doing. He went for a lair, but he doesn't have a third base, so even though I just did nothing for like 2 minutes, I still think I'm probably in a fine spot. Quite far behind in workers. Oh, let's see if this works. Oh, that's so sick. Salvage bunker, good for a liberator. Yeah, I think this is a fine spot. He is going for a Spire. So, nowadays, I think I'm pretty good at sussing out the Spire. Because these cheesers, right, they're all the same, but it's kind of different with what race they play. Like Protoss, they're always going to go for DTs. Zerg, you always got to expect the Muta switch. And either scan for it or just get a couple turrets. Oh, I came pretty close to killing that. And it looks like Ling's speed is going to finish pretty soon. And he's probably going to kill these Cyclones, actually. If he micros it well, which he is not. Okay, so he built a lot of Lings, now he's going into Mutas. So this is the sort of game where either I defend the Mutas or I don't. If I defend the Mutas on their first run in, I win. And if I don't, which it looks like I'm not going to, I'm probably going to lose. Stim? Oh, I made a bad read. I assumed he's going for more roaches. Which I've actually done this recently as well. I think nowadays, like, even just mass marine is good enough against roaches, where you should probably just go for it. So I think these mutas are just gonna kill me. Because, I mean, obviously if he flies into these, it's not gonna look good, very pretty for him. But if he just flies into my main, oh my god, bro. I mean, he's gonna get some damage, but he lost 2 mutas at the very start. It's not a good look. Also not good. I should have pulled these way earlier. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's easy to look at this from, like, the bird's eye view, the god view, and just be like, oh, these are all the things you did wrong. But obviously, if we're going to look at one of my normal replays from today, you know, like, how many of these same mistakes would I make? I don't know. It's hard to say whether I'm, like, better or worse. I do think lots of these things I would do better nowadays. So, let's see. He does have Baneling speed. I feel like I'm kind of desperate here, but I don't think I actually need to be. Because I know his third was really late. He also rushed mutas. And he built a lot of Lings as well, so he can't have that high of a drone count. And this army 100% beats my army. Oh, I double stim too. Oh no. Looks like it's gonna be a loss. Yeah. Let's see, what are upgrades? He has 1-1, but neither of us have started 2-2. Yeah, I mean, I should have kept that army at home. You need combat shields. Well, not only do you need combat shields, but if you're gonna stim in, you need to know where your opponent's army is. You can't just stim into a base with nothing and hope they're not there. It's not a real thing. So this is something I'm only now getting better at, but oh my god, 40 SUVs. The best way to deal with banelings, I've learned, is you kite back with the half of the army that the banelings are running towards, and then the other half actually kill banelings really fast. Yeah. This game is over. So I think this game was actually a pretty poor performance for me. Looks like I did GG, so still that's same old Emperor as before. So honestly, pretty poor performance. I think I held the start very well, but and I even went into 3 tech laps. Not a very solid approach. Just getting 2-2. Well. I'll have to find another game and see if I put on a better performance anywhere. But I do think I'm better now than I was back then. But that might also be like all the replays I post on here have been wins. So I'll have to find something where I actually lost. Anyway, BG's guys, because that Zerg was a fucking cheeser and didn't deserve any MMR that I gave him. Alright guys, next time, adios.